East Hampton Village, we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I call to order the Design Review Board for January 16, 2024. The first item on our agenda are the minutes of December 5th, 2023. Do we have any questions or corrections? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve. Do I have that motion?
I'll give a motion.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have a second?
Second.
Cheryl, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. The next item on our agenda is a historic district, 132 Montauk Highway. Is the applicant present? Yes.
Morning, Chair, members of the board, village representatives. John Huber of Balsam, Schmidt and Huber, East Hampton, on behalf of the applicant, 132 Montauk Highway, LLC, owner of the subject premises. I'm accompanied this morning by project architect Ernie Schieferstein. The dwelling at the premises, known as the Talmadge Jones House, is a timber frame landmark for purposes of Village Code Chapter 176, and we are present today in furtherance of the Certificate of Appropriateness application filed originally on February 27th, 2023, by others on the applicant's behalf. Since my firm became involved with the application in April of 2023, we've made various supplemental submissions which collectively comprise the materials we'd like to discuss with you today. If I may, I'd like to take a moment to specifically thank Tom Priato and Billy Hajak for their abundant cooperation and patience with us since I became involved with the project. My sincere desire has been to demonstrate the applicant's good faith commitment to restoring this home in an architecturally and historically consistent manner. The materials we've submitted have been developed primarily in response to Billy Hajak's March 24, 2023 memo. For the board's convenience, I've summarized our materials in my September 13th, 2023 memorandum, a copy of which everyone should have. From here, I'll turn the presentation over to Ernie Schieferstein. And in closing, I'd like to thank you for your work on this matter and for the opportunity to be heard today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Welcome.
Good morning. Ernest Schieferstein, architect, 14 Oak Drive, North Haven. I was brought into this, as John said, after whatever went on. So my effort is to do everything that's going to restore this house, keep it going. The main item I brought today is, I know was a big contention, was the windows, which the ones that are there now going to completely come out. It took 2 months to get these samples built. That's why it took a little longer for us to get back to you, but I hope I can bring these up. But
Surely.
I think the details we're thinking about
Right. Okay.
So the frame is all Doug fir. I didn't have that painted because I wanted you to see that it would be all full pieces, not finger jointed pine or poplar.
Right.
It's historic sill. The casing, even the sash is a little thicker at the bottom. But the sash, the muttons would be 5/8, and they're all putty glazed. I don't know if you, very few companies will do that.
Yeah.
It's the authentic putty glazing, even though it's insulated glass, of course.
Are they simulated? Is that a simulated?
That's a piece, yes.
Not true divided.
No, not with glass. These would get too big if it was actual divided line, unless we went back to single glazing. Then we'd end up with storm panels and all stuff that doesn't.
Complicated.
Yeah. So I thought that was really important. Like I said, it took 2 months to get those made, but.
Right. Thank you.
Right. The other piece is the foundation. I think is really important. I met with Guy Davis. There was no problem lifting the house, putting a foundation in, and photographs show a stone veneer. We'll try to use the stone that's there. A lot of it is just, it's a mishmash of everything. It's only the center part, the house, the front and the rear is concrete block.
Right.
And especially in the front, that's cracking. And the dampness in the basement is really bad. So we would take care of that. The main thing is to lift the house up out of the ground, because I think that's where all the rot, the powder post beetle. So that I think is really important.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
And then the shutters, The client wants to use black. Black, but these are the material and the finish. The shutter company's done a lot of work out here. He recommends that material, and it should be pre-finished, so
Sure.
should last a very long time.
Okay.
The insulation, we're going to use rock wool, not fiberglass or sprayed, no sprayed foam in that house. That way with the wide sheathing on the walls, the rock will hold up much better and allow some breathing of the shingles so they'll dry out. All the trim will be natural wood, painted, of course. And the two main doors, the front and the rear door, will be restored. Glass will get historic glass where it's broken.
Okay.
And if you have any other questions, really, it's it.
Any questions, board members? No?
What about the timber frame?
There is some wood left that we photographed, cataloged. We may use some of that on the inside, but from what I've told, the flooring was what it looks like to me that the house was sitting in the ground so long that everything just rotted out. And then there was water damage on the second floor from a leak for years and years over the dining room that's got to be replaced.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? At this point, Billy Hayjack, your comments?
Good morning, members of the board. Billy Hayjack for the Village of East Hampton. As John had indicated, we've had a couple of meetings with them to, as the project progressed and evolved, we've been working with them on an appropriate design for, the restoration. They've assured us that the existing timbers would remain, that the timbers that are left would remain, and that the work could be conducted primarily of lifting the house and putting the new foundation without structurally altering the existing timbers. And also the addition that's proposed is proposed on the back side of the house, which is a non-historic element of the house. So I don't have any concerns over the small addition that's proposed. The windows, one element that Ernie didn't mention is that they're restoring the windows back to the original sizes, which is important. That was one of the early recommendations. When the windows were changed, they were made larger. The plan is to put them back to their original size, which then allows for the operable shutters to fit and look correct for the house. So, the colors are returning back to what exists now, except for the shutters. So I don't have any other real concerns with the
And are
project.
the lights on the glass? I know there was an issue with 8/8, 6/6. What?
Oh, definitely going back to what was there. Yeah, no eights, okay.
Thank you.
If you have any other questions?
Any of the old timbers that were taken out?
As Ernie indicated, most of them are pretty compromised, so I think they might be used for decorative purposes inside if they can. But not,
They saved a bunch of them.
they save some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
But not for structural purposes.
Yeah, they're not any good for anything structural.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Billy. Tom, anything to add to that? Okay, so for the board here, I have any problems with their moving forward? Just, you can go ahead and move forward with this material. Okay, so.
I guess
Okay.
everything worked.
Yeah. You want to take a vote on this? Motion to approve the materials. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. We'll see you as it progresses. Okay, the next item on our agenda is thank you very much. The Jewish Center of the Hamptons at 44 Woods Lane. Is the applicant present? Thank you and welcome. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here. Alex Balsam Street in Huber here to the Jewish Center. I've got some
Wow. I love that.
boards.
Wow,
It's amazing. It's really beautiful.
So really not much has changed from a design standpoint since we were before you. Obviously, we're back after our ZBA approval. One thing we did do is we moved the pavilion closer to the sanctuary. So this pulled it out of the transition yard setbacks so that we complied with those without needing a variance for that. We submitted to you our updated landscaping plan and our lighting plan, and the new site plan showing the new location. We're going to use Alaskan cedar for the pavilion. The color will match the existing sanctuary there.
Okay. And did you want to add anything about the lighting or?
Yes. In terms of the exterior lighting, right? Actually, good point. The whole premises will be retrofitted with code compliant, dark sky compliant lighting. Some of that, the lighting is a mishmash that's been installed over the existence of the center. Honestly, most of it for security purposes, but anything that's not compliant is going to become dark skies compliant as part of this project.
Thank you. Board members, any questions? Thank you. From Ajak, any your comments? Yeah.
I just had, good morning, board members, Billy Hajak for the Village. I just had one suggestion, which is the planters that are proposed along the roadway, that the board condition any determination or decision on properly screening those so that they're not visible from, to the public. That's my only suggestion.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So I would go ahead. Let's make a motion. Do I have a motion to approve this application with the exception of the planters? Maybe you could come back to us with the screening of the planters, or do you have a solution now?
Alex Bludorn is here with me. He's the landscape architect on the project, so
Okay.
I can maybe ask him to come up and say. But yes, big picture, our intent, and as we went through the zoning board process, we actually did say the same thing, that the planters would become part of the hedgerow and properly screened.
Okay.
The process of putting those planters seems to have already started. There's some of them are out there, some of them you already can't see. They're in the existing hedgerow. I did notice that some, I guess, will be on the west side of the property, are not within the existing hedgerow, and I actually spoke to the Jewish Center about that, and they are planning to push them back into the existing hedgerow or add additional plantings there as needed so that they are better shielded. But Alex, you have anything to add to that? No.
How many planters are there? May I ask?
I believe there's 14.
14. Okay.
Yeah. And again, those planters, just to remind the board, those planters were actually provided to the Jewish Center from the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay.
To soften the target, as they say these days.
Okay. I see no problem with that. Tom Parada, any questions? No. Okay. So with that said, I would entertain a motion to approve this application. Do I have that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you very much.
That's quite a project.
Second. Do I have it all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is the East Hampton Square Associates at 41 Main Street. Is the applicant present?
Yes, Barry Rice, architect.
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning, members of the board. I'm here with Greg Merritt, our landscape architect for Bayview Landscaping, if you have any questions regarding this. Since I spoke with you last time, we have supplemented some information on the drawings, and I can run through that now. And also we have a couple of color samples for the canopy and the cladding on the exterior. So I'll show you.
Thank you.
This doesn't have a date on it. Okay, where's see.
Got some loose actual color samples.
Oh, yes.
Very dark.
Right.
Excuse me, I'd like us to maybe speak into the microphone a bit because I can't hear you on the broadcast, but thank you very much.
Okay, the samples here, are the black is for the windows.
So is it green?
The
Dark green, yes.
It reads black.
It reads
Yeah,
black,
it's
but
better.
even with my reading glasses, it looks black.
If
but
you
it's
put it
green.
against the shingles, which is the way it would be visible, you'll see
Oh,
that
okay.
it is not black. And in the sunshine,
Oh,
of course, it's
right,
clearly
okay.
green, but in this light, it does look black, yes.
And then the green,
For the
fabric,
canopy. Canopies.
and the white.
And the white is a trim, a little edging trim around the edge of the canopy.
Oh, okay, great. Board members, you see that?
really pretty.
Thank you. Camera, you see it? Okay. Okay. And next,
We have a couple of things we've been developing with Billy Hedges at the back of Bookhampton here.
Could you please move that a little bit closer to the microphone, please? Thank you very much.
Okay, so Bookhampton is here. This is Starbucks up here. This is the building we're recladding and changing the windows. And at the back of Bookhampton, there's currently a Bilco unit in this alleyway. It protrudes into the alleyway about 8 feet. And in order to achieve the landscaping and to make it more a usable space for the public, we've decided to replace the Bilco unit with 2 little areaways. And if we could just touch this up. Thank you. This is your set. Thank you. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll just describe it to you. I'll leave some drawings of what we're doing with the areaways. There are 2 light wells that will be built here and here, about 3 feet by 2 feet. They will be at grade. One will be a second means of egress for the basement of Bookhampton, which Tom asked us to do to comply with state code. The other one will be a delivery point for books coming into the bookstore. Currently, they're coming through a Bilco, through a ladder with some rollers on it. We're doing the same method of entry, but we're not using a Bilco. We're just having an areaway, which will have a grated cover and drains at the bottom. And that way, we can maintain as much landscaping as we want to along here. So that's one change we've been working on. And the other one we've been looking at is how to condense the area of trash storage, which is down here, at the other end of this alleyway. And currently this comes all the way out to here. We now reduced it back to here, and we're reorganizing the way trash is stored there. So we're consolidating the trash, we'll be protecting it with a decorative fence, and we will be maintaining it so that there's no odors and stuff coming out of it. So those are the 2 key things we've worked on since we last presented this to you.
thank you.
I don't have any other information to partake.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Billy, your comments?
I don't have any additional comments.
Tom, anything? Okay. Thank you then. I would make who would make
I have a question.
Surely.
I'm looking at this, that which you presented to us a while back. I assume that I'm reading this correctly, that this is where Warren Tacomi had been and Khan is, this is on Park Place?
Correct.
But on the corner here where Amber Waves is,
Yes.
this indicates that want to do the same thing as you're doing here, up and down that alley.
Correct.
And
This is
that's
not
not-
part of this application.
But shouldn't it be considered in its entirety if it's all going to end up looking the same?
Billy, your comments on that?
So that is, you are correct. They're depicting that. It's a separate parcel. So you can't require them to submit an application if they wanted to come forward. It's controlled by the same entity or same family. But they can explain to you or show you what they're considering or contemplating, but you can't necessarily force them to submit another application because it's a separate property. It's a separate review. It would be a different application.
I just feel that we should have an overall look. If this is all going to turn into looking the same, it's losing some of the charm of East Hampton, and everything is starting to look like up the island. You know, it's very sleek and it's very beautifully designed, but it's not, to me, what East Hampton is. It's starting to look very industrial, and if it's also going to go all the way up that as well, I think we should be looking at that in its entirety before we say, okay, fine.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Actually, I should have commented earlier that my one comment, the plans for the rearranging of the window wells and such, those have to be formally submitted to the board for you to act. So that, those were discussions we've had with Barry over the last week, course of the last week. So
Billy, could you just work with the applicant and maybe just, you don't have to come back with those other items, or do you need to?
I mean, they have to formally submit plans to the board depicting everything that is proposed. Right?
So what are we approving this, or what is?
So yes, I just have a question just to clarify your point. We showed on that render how we are anticipating changing the windows into the Starbucks building, for want of a better term, and Amber Waves building. We're just going to be reducing the sill down from the configuration that the windows are today. But we did want to give that to you for information in response to your question to know what the context would be. So just to clarify for me, what further information, if any, do you want on the elevations of those buildings? Do you want another rendering done, or do you want some drawn elevations?
I mean, all of these windows go all the way down to the street by the looks of things. There's
Yes,
nothing
within
else
a foot.
in East Hampton Village, if you ride around, that goes all the way down. There's always a buffer. It retains a little bit of, I don't know,
It's a foot above the street, yeah, a foot above the sidewalk.
and then all of this planting, what happens in the dead of winter? I mean, it looks very pretty when you've got flowers blooming in the summertime, but is this just going to be a curb with a lot of
Greenery in there.
Good morning, Greg Moret, Baby Landscape Architecture, New York State Registered Landscape Architect. The intention is that there would be a evergreen skeleton to that planting, probably boxwood, which is the typically stay evergreen, so that it does have a year-round appeal.
Thank you. Okay.
I have a question just about the windows themselves. I see that they allow so much more visibility into the space, which is nice in the light, but they look very thick and very heavy.
Okay.
And there's just so much of it, and it starts to look quite industrial to me. And I don't know if we've discussed that already or if that's for today, but I would just be curious to know how thick they're going to actually be, all the black
Okay.
and crossbars. I don't think they're part of
It's
this
quite
application.
a
Oh, okay.
massive intrusive.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Is this part of?
So going another direction.
Yeah, yeah.
We have submitted a drawing that shows in detail the proportion of the windows, and they are in fact lighter when you look at all the sight lines on our drawings than they are shown on that render there. In fact, there are other renders there that might show it a bit more clearly. The one looking down the alleyway with the seating in the foreground. They're shown to be very flat in the render. In fact, they are articulated with detail as shown on here. They're very traditionally detailed, so they're not modern.
Okay, since we're going in several directions here, I would like to appoint a committee to work with you, and on that committee, why don't we put Sue, you'll be on the committee. Cheryl Dayton will be on the committee, and you'll also be on the committee.
Okay.
So, two people on this committee? Okay.
I'd like to be on the committee.
Okay. Why don't you both be on the committee then? Was that okay?
Catherine, yeah,
Okay.
fine.
All right. All right, thank you. And they'll work with you and come back to the board, and you could also work with Billy and on this.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Mill Hill Realty Corp. at 17 Toilsome. Is the applicant present?
Again, Alex Balsam here with with the applicant. I have members of the Diamond family with me who own the property. Stuart Cook, our landscape architect,
Right.
and Ben Shaliff, our architect.
Right.
So we're here to, we'll answer any relevant questions. Big picture, we're excited to be back before you since we were here a while ago, pre-pandemic. We've added a lot of detail to the project. If some of you were obviously on the board when we were last here, and that was our intent. There was to do a big picture sweep of the project to take the temperature of the village. Obviously, most in the village were very ecstatic for the project, and we've since taken the time to again work out the details. A project like this has a lot of details on our side, just from the looks to the operation. And we've honed in, I think, something that is beautiful and works well. So as I'm sure you saw, we've submitted the renderings and the elevations, color schematics, exterior lighting plan, landscaping plan for the transitional yard, setback area, the parking plan, the floor plan. I do want to clarify something. We had two submissions to you for today for the floor plan. One was inaccurate. The second was accurate. What happened there was it was just the thing that changed was the number of seats that we're proposing at the restaurant. When there's two calculations here. We have our septic flow calculation that limits number of restaurant seats, and we also have parking. So with the 61 spaces that we have on site, we initially hadn't allocated any to the I guess you could say the manufacturing use of the brewery production. We had just based it on number of expected total employees that we needed, but we realized we did need to allocate 8 spaces for the part of the structure that we were actually making the beer that we're going to be selling as part of the restaurant use. So the restaurant has 129 seats. The way the math works out, those I do want to clarify this verbally because it's a little confusing when I put on paper. The flow capacity of the restaurant is going to be approved for 105 seats. So if it's January and you come to the restaurant, there'll be 105 seats inside the facility, inside the restaurant. The health department allows you to take 1 seat outside and put 2 seats outside. Take 1 seat inside and put 2 seats outside. So during the warmer months, we would go into the outdoor dining area basically behind the building, and for a total combination inside and outside of 129 seats. We did shift the use of the building a little bit. The footprints basically stayed the same, but now what we've decided best to do is to take the existing block building that'll be renovated. That will be the kitchen and the restaurant. So basically, the restaurant portion will be in there. The portion where we produce the beer, that'll be in the new building, which is going to replace the dilapidated tile barn that's there now. I can address. I read Billy's memo. I can definitely address some of those points. One of the things is we did have some deciduous plantings in our transitional yard setback area. They weren't all evergreen plantings. Stuart might want to comment more on this, but he had mirrored it over a nearby project where he had done transitional yard plantings. With that said, we're happy to talk to the village, and if the village says, look, they have to be evergreens, they'll be evergreens. If there's an existing stockade fence there at the end of the transitional yard setback area, that fence we think belongs to the neighbor. Obviously, if the village says you should have your own fence, we'll double up a fence and put our own fence there. That would not be a problem. But again, I don't know if this is something he wants to handle at the committee level or what, but I'm just saying out loud now that would be happy to. These are not problems, obviously.
Sure.
We have some light fixtures along the egress that are also at the edge of the transitional yard setback. Again, we can hammer that out, whether it's appropriate as is, whether we try to shift those to the other side of the driveway. Obviously, we don't have a lot of room on the other side of the driveway, but I'm sure we can figure that out. We are preparing a cross-section detail for all the paving surfaces, so we'll submit those to you, as long as with the greater level of detail to depict the proposed grades that will be coming from us as well, and we will have Wallbridge work on putting these all the improvements and changes onto his actual survey, which we didn't do. We went the other direction. So I think those were the relevant points from Billy's memo that we need to address. What else? What am I missing, fellas?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I guess I should say this out loud. This is a restaurant. Obviously, this was an issue that we hammered out during our long ZBA process, but assuming we're eventually going down that road again, I should state for the record that this is a restaurant use, and it has a manufacturing component as well, because obviously we're producing beer. I mean, we could argue that the beer we're producing is just like essentially the same as us cooking the food, and it's all one restaurant use. But I don't think we're happy to go down the road of acknowledging that we have a restaurant use, obviously, which is allowed, and Billy points this out in his memo. Obviously, he's just giving his opinion, but with the manufacturing component as well, also an allowed use.
So does this mean you're not going to compete with Coors? Or Budweiser?
No comment.
Is the beer only going to be sold at the restaurant, or are you going to be manufacturing and distributing it to others?
Certainly our primary focus initially would be, and especially based on the size equipment that, the size capacity that we could do there. I think the primary retail focus would be at the restaurant, but we certainly don't want to box ourselves into that. We would, obviously, I think some degree of local wholesale is appropriate and things like that. From a business standpoint.
Not national.
Well, certainly not from this site. Yeah, if we'd only be so lucky just to have that problem, but the whole cart and the horse thing.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Billy, comments on?
Sorry. Good morning, members of the board. Billy Hajak for the Village. I had prepared a memorandum to the board. Apologies for it being submitted to you Friday afternoon. So if anybody has any specific questions, I've laid out all my comments in the report. So if you have any specific questions for me, I could try to answer them. Or if even if it's unrelated to the report, I can try to answer them. But
I have a question.
Sure.
I know this is the old building where I guess Ben used to have.
The Romanzi property, yep.
What's to prevent people from additionally parking in this parking lot or anywhere else over the capacity of the parking that's outlined on here?
That'll just be technically they're not permitted unless they enter into an agreement with the Romanzi property where they establish some sort of a mutual easement. It's just not permitted. It'd be an enforcement issue for the property owner to enforce.
And it'll probably be gated. I would imagine it may be gated off, or
I suppose they could
gated off,
block it if they wished, but that might hinder use of their own facility.
Okay.
I have a few comments I'd like to make. This is the first of a kind in the village of East Hampton, and I have some concerns about the residential neighbors, the traffic, that's it, the hours of operation, and the village should have a written determination as to the use of this facility. I made some notes that the Toilsome Lane Brewery is back on the agenda. They've changed the name from the brewery to Toilsome Farm, as well as newly drawn up plans, which we've all received. previously a brewery, tasting room, and second floor low-keyed restaurant was planned. Now resubmitted, building plans appear to be a brewing plant, bar, restaurant, and outdoor and indoor seating. There'll also be outside commercial activity with the beer production. If so, would the project then be considered two different uses on one property? There are serious issues involved that need to be addressed. Traffic, residential, neighborhood protection, crowd and noise control, to name a few. As this project is to unprecedented lifestyle change use for our village, we need to be extremely vigilant in our determination. The DRB needs to establish perfectly clear guidelines, not only for today's use of the property as well as the facilities, but what is its future use as well. Village residents have the right to officially know that we are doing diligent research on this usual project. So before we on the review board can act on Toilsome Farms, there needs to be sufficient research and a determination of this appropriate use by the village building inspector. Most importantly, by following the village code, that the determination must be submitted in writing. The DRB cannot legally act on this appropriation, nor can a public hearing take place even in its place. I have another comment. Is it possible you have the exit going out near a residential home? And I believe Herman put that fence up that's on Diamond's property. And it should be, according to the village code, it'd be 30 feet from that fence out to the edge of the driveway. And it seems to me that, and then you put lighting along that edge. I guess it goes all the way around, 100-something lights. The light's going to shine in the bedrooms on that side of the house. I don't know why they need lights. That driveway's been there for 150 years. We've never had any lighters on it that I know of. But it seems to me that driveway, on the north side of the property, you have quite a bit of room. And why couldn't you put a double driveway entrance and exit over there rather than dump the traffic over on the residential side?
Okay, that's a good comment. I think that's something that we could
So
look at.
there was a traffic plan done on this?
They did submit a traffic study.
So there's a traffic study that shows the reason for doing that,
Yeah,
I believe?
the traffic study concluded that site distance was adequate from.
It was more than adequate.
Yeah, more than adequate. Yes.
Over what the state requirements are.
Correct. Yes, for the entry point and also at the exit point. I mean, I believe that the roadway, the actual exit improvement, does meet the required transitional yard. It's just the lighting that's located within it that sounds like the applicant is willing to.
And this property, the entire property is in East Hampton Village's industrial manufacturing zone, correct?
Correct.
And the house?
Commercial use on near residential property.
But it's light, I mean, that's.
Yes, it is zone manufacturing,
It is
industrial
zone manufacturing.
Yes. And then the neighboring residence is residential,
Yes.
and across the street is residential.
But it's not illegal to have a commercial next to a residential. I mean, it's state law, so it's okay.
No, it's permitted, I mean, it's
And the-
permitted use, but the code requires the transitional yard
Right.
to buffer.
The 30.
Right, yes.
But the house that's there on the edge, it's been there, it was there before, I mean.
I couldn't say, I don't know.
That house was built by Millard Dayton back in 1799. And I don't know whether he lived in it, but Otto Gould, one of the Gould brothers' dairy, ran a dairy. And
So there was a dairy next to it, is that what you're saying?
that whole complex was a dairy. And Charlie Gould, Otto's brother, he lived in the house that was torn down where Benny Krapinski built an office. That was where Charlie lived. And the house was sold, and Otto had one son, Donald. He ran the milk plant, and Charlie had a son and a daughter, Norm and Meg, and they ran the dairy many years to finally gave it up. And when Norm went to the zoning board, and I guess Herman needed a storage facility for his furniture and bedding and what have you. And that's where they built that cement building in the back. And they needed a change of use. So that's where the commercial and manufacturing comes in on that point. But it seems to me that you go out on a toilsome, and in the morning, all during the day, you have cars going north and south about every 3 to 5 seconds. And to me, Toilsome Lane has become a bypass from Main Street because the traffic gets so heavy on Main Street, so they've been using Toilsome. And the speed limit there is 25 miles an hour, and I don't believe it's 1 car in 10 goes speed limit. You all go zipping down there pretty fast. Motorcycles, buses, tractor trailers, and what have you. But the other thing I just wanted to brought up is that the brewery going to be retail, wholesale, or just be used, be made just for the restaurant?
I think Alex addressed that point, but if you need more clarification, I'd suggest.
Alex, would you like to address that then?
The one thing I should point out is so the process here, the board doesn't review a lot of new site plan applications. So this is a site plan application. Because there's engineering involved and site civil work, I'd requested a few minimum amount of information before it's referred to the village's consulting engineer.
Yes.
So once we receive that information, I recommend it be referred to Vin Gaudiello at the Rayner Group for civil engineering review. The board is also going to have to conduct SECRA to address a number of Cheryl's questions. That's the State Environmental Quality Review Act, and that looks at traffic, lighting, any environmental issues that could be related to the project. And in connection with that, the board has to declare lead agency status. So I would suggest or recommend that you assume lead agency status.
Okay.
And then from that point, we can coordinate lead agency. And then, after that, the process would be, once it's complete, the board holds a public hearing, and then you'll receive input from the general public.
So the bottom line is there will be like several, if not 4 or 5.
Several meetings
for procedural
more
before
purposes.
Anything is determined.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll go through your process if you could just let us know what to do there. And in addition to that, I'd like to appoint a committee here to work with the applicant also. And for that committee, Anne, would you like to be on that? And
Sure.
let's say, Kristen, would you like to be on that? So why don't we have the committee work with the applicant and we'll do it that way. And Billy, you'll let us know the next step we'll take. So with that, then, that's it. I'm sorry, and you were going to address this, yes.
Fill in a couple of gaps while we're here,
Yes, please.
to Cheryl's point. So the manufacturing aspect here, while it will, again, to clarify the point, not all of the beer that's made is going to be sold through the restaurant. We would anticipate that some degree of wholesale would occur as well. But again, to stress the point, this is not, in brewery world, this is not a big production facility. This does not equate to delivery trucks backing in every day and moving pallets of beer out the door. That's not what this facility is sized for.
You take the Montauk Brewing Company, started out in a garage, and look at what it is today.
Sure. Also, that's a good point. In that,
Tractor trailers coming in.
well, they don't. Their beer is brewed. I mean, I don't want to speak out of school, but I think it's fairly common knowledge that their beer is brewed off-site. Way off-site.
I wonder,
Yeah.
I wonder why. I know
I see.
the Montauk Brewery, the brewery process, I guess, is off the site. Why can't this?
Well, they do have a small brewery in back of their facility. But again, what you're thinking of, I think, is all the cans that you see in all the stores, and then the big 18-wheelers that you see with their logo on it. That's again not different. This is a different business plan.
This is similar in size to how Greenport Brewery started, that was in the old firehouse. And it's a small manufacturing, and when they got bigger, they moved manufacturing to a larger facility. So, correct?
Correct.
If I'm not.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. And of course, the difference is we're going to be a real restaurant. Our chef Damien O'Donnell's here too, with us, and he's going to be in charge of the restaurant.
I do have one question. The silo, is that decorative or use for storage for?
I don't know yet. I think we'd like to keep the option open to go either way.
I just didn't.
I think big picture, it would be functional. I don't know if it would be functional right off the bat. Just sort of like a logistical question. Cheryl also mentioned our initial application had a second room on a second level. That's all been removed. I think the operation, we kind of simplified things a little bit since our last. I mean, and through the process, through the years, we've obviously heard a lot from the community. Almost all good. Obviously, some bad, but we have taken the bad to heart. I mean, we're not. That's why, as Cheryl noted, things are, there's not a beer garden, there's outdoor dining. We've pivoted to hammer that point that this is a restaurant. In terms of the hours of operation, the traffic study actually took this into account, which you'll see when you read through that. But so basically we're looking to be noon to 11 in the summer, and that 7 days a week. And then during the quote unquote off season, we'd like to stay 6 days a week, noon to 9. So again, if you've been to these uses, this is not the rowdy, event hall that a nuisance is that I think some are portraying it to be. These are quiet. This is definitely geared to be a family place. Come and have a meal, enjoy the tranquility, and
it's obviously, it's not off a major college or university campus where,
Right.
you know.
Well, there's also some restaurants in the neighborhood already.
Yes.
I mean, there are
Yes.
two very active restaurants
Within walking distance.
within walking distance from this.
Yes. Yes. Well, any other comments? Thank you. And our committee will work with you, and Billy, you'll let us know on the introduction of
So
these
what's the
other
next
items.
step?
What's the next step? Yeah.
So I would suggest the board, I mean, to declare lead agency, you have to formally
Okay.
do that,
Okay.
with a motion and a vote.
Okay.
And then we're waiting for the applicant to resubmit some additional materials. In the interim, if the committee would like to set up a meeting with the applicant, we can do that through the board and, work through some of the questions that were raised and some of the items that are in my memorandum. And when they respond, it would come back to the full board for review.
Can I ask a question, Billy?
Sure.
You mentioned that we could elect to seek preliminary comment from the Department of Public Works. Is that something we have to formally request?
You don't have to formally vote on it, but if the board would like, if there's a consensus that you'd like to do that, or if you'd like to wait until,
Is that part of
After.
doing the lead agency and
Yeah.
then doing that?
Yep.
So we have to vote on being a lead agency.
Do that.
Okay. So let's take a vote. Do you have a motion to?
I'll make a motion.
Who'll make a motion to be the lead agency?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so be it. Okay, that concludes that for today. Okay, thank you all very much. Any other questions? If not, this concludes our agenda for today. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
Cheryl, thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?